How do you think esports rosters are made? Well, generally speaking, the organization looking to build a new team starts off with one of two things. Either they have a coach who then handpicks the players, or they have a pre-existing squad and the players have varying degrees of say in the choice of the new head coach and staff. However, what happens if you start out with neither, are on a limited budget, and have to stomp a team out of the ground, while you're already the last one to start in the off-season, with little time left to choose? Well, that is exactly the position Paris Eternal general manager Avalla found herself in. Now, instead of starting out with a squad of players or a full coaching staff and go from there, she used a highly unorthodox and unique strategy in esports team building. Avalla chose the coaching staff and the players at the same time, taking the feedback from the participants of the trials individually, with players judging the coaches and vice versa. In the end, she built a competitive roster out of the scraps that other teams left on a limited budget with little time to do so. How is that possible? How did the process work, and who was involved? Well, you gotta start somewhere, right? And once again, the Eternal went off the proven path for success. In Overwatch League Season 4, about 57% of all players were from the esports motherland South Korea. And in our history, every single champion had at least half its starters come from the East Asian country. With Avalla being South Korean herself, it might have seemed like the path of least resistance. However, the team decided on a European approach after careful consideration of the talent pool.
I knew that for the longest time ever, like not many European players or not many North American players actually made it to the league. Like that made the region pretty stacked in terms of talent pool. So that's why I thought that these NA and EU region will be probably a good region to pick players up from, because there has been several years of players who were not picked up. We did have a few NA players at the end of our final tryouts, but we didn't even think about it. But at the end, those 7 best players that we chose at the time all turned out to be European. So it was pretty much coincidental that we stumbled up on the Europe option.
With a wide first cut made through the talent pool, Paris collected applications and created several trial phases, putting lesser-known talent into the earlier stages and letting them pass into the next phase with top contenders players and former OWL players such as Elevote, Onigod, and Neptuno.
Everyone would just get by the team that Neptuno was playing with, because Neptuno was like just shot calling. So whatever team Neptuno was on, basically, they just hard rolled everyone. Doesn't even matter like what the other players were, basically. I always like look up to Elevote, and then to play with him in those tryouts, it was so like impressive to see kind of the things he did, the space he held, his timings, kind of the way he played around everything. You know, he impressed me the most probably. And Oni, because Oni was, I remember Oni was on the losing team like almost the entire tryout, but like he would still just be so good that everyone picked him. Like everyone would have him picked, because I remember he was playing Anubis, and you kind of got looked into like comps, right? So both teams had to play like certain comps, and it was like Widow, and he just killed like just everyone off cooldown. So I remember that specifically. So yeah, it kind of was like mainly like Oni and Ellie, but especially Ellie, he impressed me the most.
Naturally, not every promising player that made it deep into the tryouts could be selected, but many of them will be names the adept Overwatch fan will recognize.
Players like Blase, players like Linkser, players like Afox, who's now retired. Yeah, players like that.
At the same time, coaches needed to be selected while also assisting Avalla in running the trials. Throughout her career, she had witnessed the qualities top-tier coaches will bring to the team, not least during her time in the Paris Eternal of Season 3, around head coach Rush and previous hands-on general manager 9K. Her time in the Washington Justice in Season 2 also informed her opinion and made for a rather stark contrast.
I come from coaching Washington Justice, which you could say was a big failure. We had a lot of coaching issues, a lot of player issues. And because I experienced the failure, I knew what I wanted to avoid. I didn't really want to pick any coach by just interviewing. I really wanted to see how these coaches coach, because having the experience from 9K, Rush, Aid, Levy, I know what a good coaching looks like.
Fortunately for Avalla, great coaches and players weren't just obvious to her, but also through the opinions that players shared with her. The final 4 of the coaching trials were so high quality that even those not picked eventually made it into the Overwatch League during Season 4 with other teams.
I wanted JMac for sure, because he just seemed like very smart with the things he said. Get amazed, he just seemed like a really natural leader, and the rest, like Spylo and like especially Zenith, I felt like he wasn't that natural of like a leader as Get Amazed. So that's why I wanted Get Amazed over him.
Constantly assessing the candidates of each group against each other and collecting feedback from all parties, favorites emerged, sometimes even unbeknownst to themselves.
I think there were only like three other main tanks left. I think Benbas was playing, because it was kind of expected he got picked up, right? So they were just trying to see what else was there and using players to complete tryouts. I never thought I would be picked up, even when in the third phase it was just me and Benbas. But even then I had like zero like thought of me ever be like ending up in the team, which kind of had like a no pressure situation for me, right? Because it doesn't really matter. I thought like for sure he was just gonna be re-signed because he was the only Paris player that they even considered back in the tryout. So I was just like, oh, they're just using me as like a kind of like a prop to just try out. And it was probably some of the best Overwatch I played in those tryouts.
Benbest, Paris Eternal's main tank in Season 3, was said to have had a great season, was for many fans the favorite to be picked up, and thus Dan didn't expect to be chosen, making the surprise all the sweeter.
I remember, it was just like a bit surreal, kind of. I couldn't like really believe it at first. But like I said, I never expected to be on the team. Obviously I couldn't really tell anyone, so I just ran downstairs to my little brother, because I told him about like the process, but I still told him also that I don't expect to make the team. And then we just kind of like hugged and just stuff like that.
In the end, the final selection fell on Naga, one of the best available Western flex DPS. Onigod, a first wave Overwatch pro hungry for owl success. Suna, who many thought to have been the best tracer during the process. Elevote, whose communication, experience and awareness made him stand out. Dan, the underdog who beat out crowd favorite Benbest. Neptuno, who had shot-called his trial teams to an overwhelming amount of victories. And Khan, who many consider a shout for Rookie of the Year for his outstanding ability to carry from the flex support position. Later on, the team had to augment to overcome the retirement of Neptuno and Elevote, adding off-tank Vestola and main support Dredraw. With a unique approach of trialing, the Eternal managed a respectable 12th place in the season rankings, upsetting several teams like the Washington Justice, the Los Angeles Gladiators, and the Dallas Fuel. If you want to find out more about their entire season and how their games played, the ups and downs of the Paris Eternals 2021, check out the other video we have on this channel. Anyway, even though Avalla had been massively disadvantaged by being all by herself, starting late into the off-season, a small budget, no team house, high ping, COVID cases in the team, and 2 key players retiring, the team punched above its assumed strength, while doing it with a full European squad. For Season 5, Avalla once again collected feedback from all players and made decisions accordingly. Paris Eternal's general manager Avalla has been re-signed for another season and is setting out to find diamonds in the rough to perform another small miracle once more. This time, the new adventure in Overwatch 2. She let us know that she will be once more assessing the situation around the available talent, finding value where others might miss it.
I knew that the team would do well. It's often the narrative of the league that the Korean players are the best players, but if you actually like do your scouting and like look into all these various talent pool that are available, you can like build a team with like people like barely knowing any of your roster and still do well.